Hi, I'm Ernie Zor for Puritas Springs Software, and I'm going to guide you through a quick tour of 2017 Ohio Fiduciary Tax. It's on my screen right now, and you're looking at the main window. The left side of the main window is the tree view, and it outlines the process for completing a return. I'll be following that outline. In this video, I'll do a small decedent's estate, starting with Step 1, starting page 1. Now on the right side of the form is, I should say on the right side is the form window, and you're looking at page 1. Now page 1 comes up automatically when you start, so it wasn't necessary for me to click on it in the tree view. Page 1 is the logical starting place because it contains some basic information that's repeated on the other forms, like federal ID number, for example. And although I'm starting with page 1, you can complete any form in any order. I've begun completing the top part so you can see how it's done, and basically it's just a matter of tabbing from field to field and making your entries. Now normally some fields would be automatically completed, like the preparer information on page 2. That information can come from the default file, which you can customize so that new files you start have those fields completed already. It's a big time saver, and there's a separate YouTube video about the default file. It's only about 5 minutes long, so if you're not familiar with how the default file can save you time, you'd do well to take a peek at it. I'm going to stop entering information now because I think you got the drift of what I'm doing. And instead I'm going to click on Step 2, name and save your file. Now because this new file doesn't have a name yet, it doesn't matter really whether I used save or save as or whatever command. The save dialog is going to pop up because there's no name, and it requires that I give it a name. Now normally I would give it a name, but I'm going to cancel out of this, and instead of naming this blank file that I started, I'm going to open a file that I already prepared, and that'll help us save time. Also, that's going to take us to Step 3, reviewing the forms. Now back on page 1, in the Check Applicable Boxes section, I checked Decedent's Estate. Of course, I can check any of the boxes there, but if I use the app primarily for Decedent's Estate, I can set that checkbox in the default file. It's possible that one of the only other things that you're going to do on page 1 is complete line 1 there that you see at the bottom of the screen. I'll move it up there so you can see it better. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to enter $17,670. That's the taxable income from the federal 1041. I can enter dollars and cents in the amount field, but ODOT wants you to round, and so Ohio Fiduciary Tax is going to round the entries automatically no matter what you put in there. So it's almost best to treat it like a typical calculator. It's not necessary to use dollar signs or commas. Note that the tax is calculated the second that I left the field, and you can see it as that $229 amount on line 8. Surprisingly, we're almost done. But first, let's look at the schedules. You can use the paging buttons at the top of the screen to move from page to page. I'm going to click on the next button right now. Now, unless you've got a refundable business credit, there's not really much to do on page 2. Incidentally, I'll raise up the signature section so you can see it. There we go. In the signature section that I referred to earlier, you see there's about 9 fields, and again, those are ones that I would usually set in the default file. And so I don't have to go typing them all up. I'm going to open another file that's got those fields completed already. And let me open that up and go back to page 2 there so we can pick up where we left off. And I'm going to take you down to the bottom of that page. And that deals with additions to income. Now the only addition I have is a line 29 entry, which is the federal personal exemption. I'm going to enter $600 on that line. Incidentally, that's from line 20 of the federal return. And note again that as soon as I tab off that field, line 21 updates, and so does line and so does the tax due, I should say. let's see, I'm going to press tab just to kick it in. There we go. And you see it changed to $244 on lines 20 and 22. Clicking the next button takes us to page 3. And just as there are additions to income, there are also deductions, and that's the section you see at the top of page 3. I'm not going to be entering any deductions, so instead I'm going to scroll down to the credits section. The decedent was eligible for a senior credit, and to make that happen, I'm going to go up to the display menu and display the credit worksheet. I think all I got to do is check the box decedent was 65 or older. Bang, I'm done. We can go back to page 3 and we should see a $50 credit appear. Let's go down a little. There it is on line 45. I'll assume there are no other credits, although retirement income credit would probably be a real possibility in a true return situation. And I'm going to skip Schedule C and assume there was no out-of-state income. So instead, I'm going to click on the next button to go to page 4. As I said, I'm assuming that the decedent was I think I said that. I'm assuming that the decedent was a full-time resident of Ohio, and therefore Schedule D does not apply, nor do Schedules F through H, because they're exclusively for trusts. So I'm going to click on the next button to go to page 5. And there you'll see that that too only applies to trusts. So I can go next and go to page 6. Now, page 6 is new. I think it's the first time in 2017. And what it is, it's this listing for the Ohio Department of Taxation. It's listing the beneficiaries. Now, in my imaginary estate here, I have 2 daughters to enter, and their information is already in a file that I prepared. So I'm going to open it right now just to save time. We'll go to page 6 there, and I only needed to click the View command to get to page 6. The fields are self-explanatory. I mean, the page fits 4 beneficiaries. I only have 2, so I don't need to get any extra pages. If you have more, however, you can click on the New command over there in the tree view and get another blank page where you can put in another 4 beneficiaries. And that takes us to the last form, which is the K1. And it's either new this year or it was a tardy form that they added last year. I think the tax return was already out and everything, and they came out with it in January of 2017. But anyway, it works like page 6 essentially, and it uses the New, View, and Delete commands. So I'm going to go to, let's see, am I already on the K1? Yeah, I'm already on the K1, huh? Okay. Oh, there we go. There's the K1. I thought something didn't look right. Okay. Now, because I haven't entered the first name yet, the only command that was visible, I think, at the time was New. And also, you know, mentioning the K1, I think there's a good deal of confusion surrounding the K1 and when it's supposed to be used. I don't imagine this video is going to do much to clear that up, but I'm going to do my best. The K1 is used for investors and beneficiaries, and I mean, if you've done the federal returns, you know what the K1's like anyway. For this decedent's estate, I'll complete the name and address of the first daughter and ignore the rest of the top part that's related to investors. That's good enough. I'm going to skip down to line 1, and that'll be the daughter's distribution, and I'll put in $8,853, and that's it. If I had a second beneficiary, and I said I do, I would click on the New command in the tree view, and I'd get a new blank K1. I'm not going to bother to do that in the video because I want to speed things along, and instead I'm going to open up another file that already has the second beneficiary in it. So let's get to the fun part now, and that's the next step, which is for previewing and printing. I'll click on that, And in the dialog that appears, you'll see that there's several separate tabbed pages for OCR forms and the more human-friendly version of the forms. Ohio Fiduciary Tax will print either one, but not in the same print job. You'd have to print them separately. Here I'm just going to print the OCR forms that you actually file with the Ohio Department of Taxation. The desired boxes are already checked, so I'm going to click the Print Preview button. There it is. Blow it up to full screen. Now, this is the cool part. If you used last year's two-step printing process, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that we abandoned that method, and believe me, I hated it as much as you did. Now the OCR forms are completely rendered in Word. Both the form and both the form and the data is all there on screen, and also I should mention that Word, you got to have Word or you're not going to be able to print the forms. So Microsoft Word is essential for this program. It's not for all of our programs, but it is for this one. Now, I don't know if you caught that, but I paged slowly through the return. I'm going backwards through it right now, just so you can kind of see all the different forms. Not that there's that many to see. There's 6 pages and 2 K1s. And with that, I'm done. So I hope you like what you've seen, and I promise it's way ahead of whatever's in second place for preparing Ohio fiduciary tax returns. And for the $49 price, you really can't beat it. Now, by the way, I didn't mention it yet, but I will now. You can also import last year's Ohio fiduciary tax files, or you can import this year's federal 1041 files, and that reduces the preparation time to really just a matter of seconds practically. Finally, if you're thinking you don't need to file an Ohio fiduciary tax return because there was no income, you'll be interested to know that this is one of the more frequent and costly mistakes that attorneys make in handling a probate, and that is failing to pass losses through to the beneficiaries who can then use those losses to offset their Ohio incomes and save money on their own income tax returns. So don't overlook it. Don't think you don't need it. You could probably do, and it's better to have it and need it than need it and not have it. Did I say that right? I don't think I did. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day.